Baroness Mone's story is so complex. I've been moaning at the thought of having to go through it. But actually, once I did so, there's a certain amount of clarity to it. And, well, she's been the victim of national crime organisation, the NCA, raiding her home in the Isle of Man. And she regrets initially denying to the press that she had any links with PPE MedPro. Because, of course, now she's had to revise that statement. She's had to change what she said, and that looks suspicious. And she's also been the victim recently of a blackmail plot, and a woman was arrested a couple of weeks ago. It's been, she says, a living nightmare. And she, I think she's done herself no favours at all. If you go back over the story, she now says she's been 2 years in hiding. Now, a lot of this information comes from a YouTube video that the family company has commissioned, though they didn't have editorial control. And she's done interviews in the Times and the Telegraph this morning. And she says that she's experienced death threats. Well, I'm not that surprised, really, for profiting for the PPE contracts during the COVID crisis. She was one of 51 organizations, private firms, that offered to supply PPE during the COVID crisis through the VIP lane. She provided, she said, sterile gowns in inadequate wrapping. She was one of 24 firms out of those 51, so most of the firms were failing. She was one of 24 that was failing, and of those 51 contracts, which amounted to 4 billion, there was 4 billion pounds wasted in unavailable PPE, which still costs us 3.2 million pounds a year in storage. Mone and her husband received contracts for, I think, 203 million pounds and benefited specifically by at least 29 million pounds paid to their accounts through Barrowman. I thought it was closer to 60 million, but remember, a lot of this information is coming through the interviews she's done for the Telegraph and the Times and the YouTube channel, and where the 60 million comes from, I'm not really that sure any longer. In fact, I've got rather tired of it. But she's now under investigation. She and her husband, Doug Barrowman, are now under investigation by the NCA, that's the National Crime Agency, and by the DHSC, that's the health service, which had been run by Matt Hancock. And this is all occurring at a time when the COVID inquiry is reaching its inevitable climax or whitewash. And on Saturday, Mone and Barrowman insisted that they were innocent. They blame instead the DHSC, the Department of Health and Social Care, run at the time by Matt Hancock. And they say MedPro, their firm, is not to blame. It delivered the PPE, meeting government standards at well below market value. They claim, in addition, that a DHSC negotiator, who they don't name, offered to make the problem go away for an undisclosed bribe. It's like something out of Southern Europe in the 80s, or Belarus and Russia today. And the YouTube documentary, which was released today, suggests they were encouraged to pay more to call the dogs off. and, quote, add to a bigger pot. And Baroness Mone feels betrayed by the Conservatives. She says, well, actually, she's not alone in that, of course. She says she feels that she has been used as a scapegoat for the failings of the Hancock Health Service. I'm ashamed of being a Conservative peer, given what this government has done to us. And in the documentary, she says that, nevertheless, despite all this, despite the nightmare, she will win because we have done nothing wrong. It's cruel, it's nasty, but we will win, she says. The DHSC, she believes, is guilty of an abuse of power, and at the same time, you've got to recognise that she is being sued by the DHSC for breach of contract, because the gowns that she supplied were unusable. She's being sued for a full refund, so presumably of 122 million for the gowns themselves, plus 11.6 million in costs. So that's the surgical gowns. Now, the use of the DHSC negotiator probably accounts for the NCA investigation into bribery, but there's also this investigation into fraud, as well as the civil matter about the suing. And she explains that she recorded the negotiator, who said that the money offered was not enough to call the dogs off. So it's a criminal and a civil case, two separate cases, and Mone relies for both on about 1,400 emails with health officials, she's got a collection of WhatsApp messages. She's presumably kept them. She knows how to avoid wiping her phone, and she's got phone messages. And Barrowman specifically says that the documents approving the contract also approve the delivery of single wrap surgical gowns. And that single wrap is what was judged to be inadequate. Now, the DHSC also claim, oh my goodness, it goes on and on and on, also claim in addition that the gowns, when they were tested, were proven not to be sterile. So there's quite a lot of, there's quite a lot to unpack in the various claims being made against Baroness Mone. And you sort of wonder why she's taken so long to come out with this public statement. And it can't be because she's almost immediately to be facing these criminal and civil cases. It must be because she wants to try and appeal and change her public image. But her public image couldn't get much worse. And I'm not convinced that the documentary, which her family has paid for, has really done the job of turning round her reputation. It's just not enough. And her reputation was destroyed not only by the fact that she was a high-profile peer who was linked to the COVID PPE failure, but that she initially denied it, and that she appeared on her boat in her swimsuit and looking the picture of elegance and money. And that, I think, is the bigger failing. The optics go against her, and to turn that round 2 years down the line, people don't forget that sort of thing. Now, she may get away with the cases. She may be able to. She may be able to convince the investigations that she is blameless, but I don't think she will be able to restore her reputation. And it's a reputation because she is also a member of the House of Lords. She is smearing the upper chamber as well with this stain of impropriety. It doesn't matter whether she is blameless. It doesn't matter whether she did nothing wrong. She's taken 2 years to come out and claim that, and I think it's inadequate, and I think it's this sort of window dressing. It all stinks. I'd love to know what you think. Maybe I'm being unfair on Baroness Mone. Or is it Baroness Moon? I get so confused with this lady. I just get confused. Mone, moon, money. I don't understand. I don't understand why she has taken so long to come out with the truth. I don't understand why she denied any involvement in the first place. I just don't understand. And I don't really understand the VIP lane. And maybe this is a way to cash in on the current attacks on Matt Hancock, because he certainly seems to be at the moment the most favoured fall guy for this for the whole COVID debacle, despite the fact that Baroness Moon believes that she herself is a scapegoat. Well, she's not as much of a scapegoat as Matt Hancock, who is about to be pushed off the cliff.